What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Right now we are in Ateza waiting for evaluations on our properties. I called up the companies and that conversation went a little bit like this.
Hey, I need my property evaluated. Oh, great. We'll be there on Friday. Awesome. See you then.
So while we're waiting, I decided to answer a question some of you might be asking yourself. If you remember a few videos ago, I actually shared the kind of car I drive. You can see it in this video or that video. And some of you might be curious, why does he drive that old car? Aside from the fact that I'm super cheap, it was a good opportunity to let us get to know each other a little bit better. You see, this is my 1997 Alfa Romeo 145. Now, to many, this is the best car brand in Italy, but upon this topic, I've not made my decisions. What this car really is a result of lifestyle decisions and a combination of neglect and time. Let's flash back to May 2017. Our family was growing and we thought it was time to retire our 2004 Renault Clio. It treated us well. It was a car we bought right before we got married. We kept it for just over 3 years. Never had any problems with it. We probably could have maintained it a little bit better. But anyway, it was a great car for us, just starting out. It was getting a little bit cramped with 2 kids on the way. No, it was getting a little bit cramped with 2 kids. And we also knew that there were some changes happening. My family was going to come visit for the summer. So we thought it would be a good idea to have a 7-seater where my mom and dad could ride with us as we traveled through Italy. As well as, and that wasn't enough, we could have rented a car, but my wife's parents were going to move and live next to us. They don't have a car, so in order to really spend time with them and go places, go shopping together, all as a family, we thought it was a good upgrade. My wife chose the car. It was gold. It was beautiful. It was spacious. Anyway, if anyone of you been in a Citroen, I don't know. I never had before. I don't think they have very many in America, but maybe across the rest of the world, who knows. Anyway, I required that the car was an automatic because my wife's a pretty good driver, but like 99% of the time a great driver. But there's 1% of the time when she hits an intersection and she has to make a decision with that stick shift, it's just one of the scariest events of my entire life. So I opted for an automatic so she didn't have to stress or trying to make those last minute decisions. I have felt a lot safer ever since. We traveled across the country, and on our way back we had a little bit of trouble with the car. We had a problem with our anti-pollution sensor. We had bought a 1-year warranty, so we felt pretty protected. So as opposed to doing the responsible thing and when I got home to call up some mechanics, fear held me back. Fear of speaking Italian to these mechanics, because it's a situation I didn't want to approach. I neglected it, and the time went by and nothing happened. Nothing changed. 1 year passed, and almost to the day of purchasing the property, 1 year later, the car breaks down. Now at this point I was obligated to do something about it. I made a few attempts. Due to my fear of speaking Italian and the mechanics in general, that feeling you always get that a mechanic is dishonest, even more so perhaps here. I had this mental block about approaching the situation, and I convinced myself without even asking that warranty was expired. We paid about 100 euros to fix the car so it would be running again. They told us that there were more problems that we needed to deal with, but we didn't want to dedicate the money at that point. Now, 9 months more pass by and the car breaks down again. Why am I telling you this part of the story? Well, this is where we reach a crossroads where some decisions have to be made. The mechanic told us that the price for repairing the car, because we neglected it, would be near or higher that which we had spent on the car initially. So option A would be to fix the car. Now, that was out the window. I was not about to spend another 5,000 euros on the car attempting to fix a problem when there were other potential problems in the transmission, for example. So option B was to go and buy a new car. We weren't at a position where we could just go and buy it with cash again, because it had only been, less than 2 years since we had bought the first car. And so we are in a position where if we go buy a new car, first we have to find someone to buy our car, potentially trade it in or something. Maybe we could trade it into the Citroen dealer. The point is that we had this choice whether we purchased a new car with financing or debt, or we found another option, option 3. With option 2, if we wanted to buy a new car between 7,000 and 20,000 euros, we could pay with a low monthly fee to have something that would satisfy our desires right now. Now, this is part of that lifestyle choice that we will talk about in a minute. Option C happened to present itself in the middle of us trying to help some friends that had recently moved to Italy. And while we were looking for and helping them find a car, this other option presented itself where we heard someone was actually giving a car away. Now, they didn't take that option. Another option presented itself for them. And so we decided to try to contact the same person. Now, this is months later. We had no idea if the car was still available. We decided to just reach out, and luck would have it that they hadn't done anything with the car yet and it was still available. That's where our little Alfa Romeo enters the scene. Now I just took a step outside to show you the car from the outside. You've probably seen it. I could have washed it, but it actually rained last night and it's going to rain again, so I am not going to do that. I'm just right here next to the stadium, but this is the Alfa Romeo 145. We've been driving around. It's taken us up and down Italy already a few times. Obviously, you know the ending of the story, but we're going to talk about what led up to those choices or why those choices were made. I don't know if this car would be considered a classic. I mean, at this point, it's over 20 years old. I think you have to hit 30 years old before you're technically a classic. So I guess I must be a classic. Either way, classic or not, it has served us well for 7 months. Doesn't work perfectly necessarily, but it's taken us from north to south in Italy and back again. It's taken us to the beach multiple times. We're still using it today, and we're a little bit cramped with having only 5 seats in the car, but it is a little bit wider in the back. We're able to put 3 child seats across the back without too much difficulty. Okay, so let's talk about why we would choose this. We're talking about lifestyle choices. Okay, each of us are different. We come from different social backgrounds, some different social experiences. So you have what you would decide, and I have what we have decided. Now, I'm going to list 5 lifestyle choices, 5 principles that we live by, which have led to this result. Number 1, we want to remain debt-free as much as possible. Living debt-free is liberating. A lot of people don't have that experience. We've been in both situations. We're not necessarily debt-free at the moment because we have invested and taken a mortgage out for an investment property. It fits a different category because that's more of a business debt. Now, being debt-free is debt-free. We still have stress over paying that bill, but the bill is being paid by renters themselves. So it's a little bit different. It's an asset because we make cash flow every single month from it. Okay, number 2 is to invest in assets first. You can listen to many different influencers out there about real estate, and many of them, if not all of them, talk about using your money to purchase assets. One of the greatest examples probably is Robert Kiyosaki in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Why the Rich Are Getting Richer, any of his books about the rich dad within the Rich Dad series. If you haven't read them, go ahead and read them. The point is that if you go and work every single day, you receive X amount of dollars, and those X amount of dollars are taxed at a certain percentage. Now, if you take that money and you buy food with it, or you buy something that is consumable, that money has just been used and is gone. If you're able to take that money and purchase something valuable that creates more money, the next cycle of money is taxed at a lower rate, and you're actually able to use more of that money than you could have used buying that food with your initial money. That was my best explanation of the situation. But go ahead and listen to some of those other influencers about that topic. But that's why we live in a way where we want to invest in assets first. We want to use our money to make more money. Number 3, we believe in the principle of sacrificing a little bit to have a lot in the future. And that's one of the hardest things to imagine, that you can have a better life in the future by making smaller choices now. It's been proven time and time and again. If you look at the story of millionaires and billionaires out there, they save. They don't need the newest iPhone. They don't need the newest this at the beginning of their lives. And that has provided a way for them to have it 10 times over in the future. Number 4, it helps us practice priorities. A lot of the time we just make decisions without thinking of what's most important in life. Making a choice like this to have this car in our lives was a decision because we want to prioritize things that matter. Things like safety for our kids, having money to pay for their schooling, money for food. You know, you understand, to not go into debt so that we could also cover the basic needs of our family first. Number 5, this is a weird one perhaps. To practice going through life not caring whether people judge us or not. This is one of my goals. Now, I don't want to go around with like mud on my face or whatever, but I do want to feel like I can go through life without being judged by others. And perhaps driving a 22-year-old car gives me that capability to practice. You can ask my wife about this. We actually have a funny situation. Right when we came back from our vacation, we had been driving our little Alfa Romeo all over Italy, having a good time. We come home and our friends had recently bought a new car, and we pulled up in our little Alfa Romeo that was dirty from the trip. They pulled up in their SUV, and there was just this sense of shame that came over us, like, oh, we have an old car that we hadn't felt for a while. But having someone close to you that improved their life in this way, that's the big challenge. That's the practice that we go through, is like, did we make a good life choice? And my wife and I have been back and forth about this situation, whether we buy a new car. We made bets, like, if you win the bet, I'll buy you a car. If I win the bet, we buy a house. Okay. Anyway, she won that bet, and she didn't hold me to it yet, so that was nice. We could choose to buy a new car at any point. We have that capability, but we're not exercising it because we're leaving debt where it should be as a last resort for an emergency situation. If we use it now, what happens in that emergency situation when we have already used all of our resources? So being able to take a consumer debt during an emergency situation is a better lifestyle decision, or in my opinion. Going back to number 2 for a second, I really like the idea of buying assets first, and you can actually use it much like I talked about last video, using a motivation. If I can motivate myself by saying I can only have a new car when I purchase something that can pay for that new car, buying an asset that can pay for that new car. I mean, Robert Kiyosaki, and I think it was in Why the Rich Are Getting Richer, talks about wanting a Porsche for the longest time, and he found the one he wanted, and he had to justify how to buy it, and so he figured out a way to buy this business that would pay him X amount of dollars per month that would cover the cost of this car, because the car was valuable. It was one of those collector's items. Okay. Anyway, so this is that situation we're trying to create in our own lives. If we buy a new car, the only situation, like I'm talking brand new, the only situation I would ever buy a brand new car is if I can use it as a business write-off. The result I hope to get from this is that somebody out there watching it will decide, perhaps when they go to make that next purchase using debt, or when they go to make that next purchase that is outside the range of their budget for that month, that they will think twice about doing it and at least sleep on it, make some lifestyle decisions of their own, maybe prioritize life a little bit more, and not get into trouble in the future. Now, I've been in trouble in the past, and I wouldn't wish that upon anybody. So this is me asking you to consider your finances in every decision you make. So for now, we're happy in using our lifestyle choices, and until the time that our passive income is at a point where we're comfortable increasing our standard of living specifically our car, we're probably going to keep this baby in the family. Thanks for liking this video. Appreciated every single share that you've ever done. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't done it, and if you've made it to the end of this video, pat yourself on the back, or I'll try to do that for you next time you're visiting in Italy. If you have any questions about Alfa Romeos, I don't know anything about them. I have one, I have no idea. I have no idea the history or how nice of a car they are. Until next time, my Alfa Romeo salutes you.